Welcome to Toffee Blue Opposition View again. I am Gerry, and I'm back with another pretty cool interview opportunity. We've got Watford coming up this weekend, and I actually get to talk to John, who is a Watford supporter who also runs from the Rookery End. It's a podcast, blog site, fan site, by supporters, for supporters. It's a pretty cool thing. So, here's John. Welcome, man.
Thanks a lot. Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Watford, it seems like it's a pretty good season to be a Watford supporter.
I would say recently it's been a very good time to be a Watford supporter. Now, we're not you high level Everton fans who have been in the Premier League for many years. We've had our owners, the Pozzos, for 5 years now, and ever since that's happened, they really sort of brought a bit more life to the club. We were used to being a championship side, and you may say we was happy there. But we've sort of developed. They've helped develop the squad, and we're now in our third year in the Premier League. And at the moment, being here is just fun and games. But particularly this season, because things are going quite well.
Right. You've got you're currently sitting 8th, 4-3-3. I mean, you're coming off 2 losses, but they're 2 tough games. One of them was to Chelsea, and before that you beat Arsenal. I mean, things are going all right. So you've got Silva now as your manager. How have things changed under him? Like differences between before and now?
Well, we were. In many ways, the squad has changed this year, but actually, it isn't the squad that's the most important change. We always felt last year with Walter Mazzari that we were a team that wasn't the sum of its parts. We had the players who did shine, and we beat Arsenal last year 2-1 at their place. And they certainly performed well that day, and we beat Manchester United 3-1 at home. But then we lost away at Burnley, and we weren't consistent. And it seemed to be that I think the individual players stepped up when they wanted to step up in the big games. But as a squad, as a team, we weren't sort of together, weren't cohesive. And that's what Marco's definitely been able to do. He's much more of a man manager, I think, rather than a master tactician, even though he is a good tactician. And that's what seems to have brought the best out of these players. Plus, we brought in a few players over the summer. And there's more of a character to the team of it being a slightly younger, energetic team. And that sort of really he's able to bring that out with his sort of management style.
I have to mention this, and I totally didn't even mention it earlier, but he's been mentioned in the Everton manager search. I don't think that's going to happen because I think he's got a pretty good gig at Watford right now, and it's mid-season. But how long do you think it's a situation where if he continues to succeed, he will kind of move on, or does he seem kind of like he's pretty happy there?
I think if you look at where he was before he came to Watford, he had shone at Hull. He'd done very well for what they had and the time they had, and everybody was after him, and he chose Watford. And he chose Watford, I think, mainly because of our infrastructure. He knew he wasn't going to go straight for the big jobs, so yeah, they have stepping stones, and working in the Premier League must be better than working back at home in Portugal. And we have changed a lot of managers over the last 5 years. But that's not necessarily a problem. We have a scouting structure, we have a managerial structure, we have a management structure that has grown and grown and grown. And actually, they're not the manager; they're the head coach, and their job is to come in and to work with the recruitment team to add to what we've already got, to use their wealth of knowledge that the Pozzo family have had since the mid '80s in Udinese. So he's come in and be able to do that, and I think that's why he chose Watford. So why would he move on, let alone move to Everton? Now, I don't think at this point he is. I honestly don't think Everton's a stable club, as my outside perspective. It's got the potential, but it hasn't got the stadium yet. Right. And we know that the ups and downs that lots of teams have gone through when they change stadiums. A lot of money was spent, but doesn't seem to be spent that well. It might work out, it might not. And that just sort of shows maybe that the signs are they as an organisation what he wants to sort of move on to. He does need, before he goes to, 2 weeks before that would be Arsenal. Of course, everyone says, the media say, maybe he could take over from Arsene Wenger. He is at place as a manager where you need to make the right choices. You know, he knows that he can shine for a certain amount of time. He knows that he may quite quickly, a run of let's say 3 or 4 losses for whatever reason, because of injury, not just because of bad management. All of a sudden, Watford aren't at the top, and all of a sudden he's not shining quite the same.
Right.
But I think he knows he has to prove himself not just over half a season, across the season. And I think if he went, let's say, at the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think if he stayed for 2 years, that'd be much better.
Right.
For us and for him.
Getting back to this season, who's actually surprised you? It could be newcomers, it could be players who were with you before this year. Who's done more than you expected?
I think the biggest surprise, let's say, has been several players who've sort of come in. One being Richarlison, who is the young hot Brazilian, and he plays like a young hot Brazilian. He runs, he heads, which Brazilians don't always do. But he's showing the flair, to raise the excitement out of the crowd, and particularly for such a young player. When we had John Barnes at Watford in the 80s, the minute he got the ball, there was a raise in energy. What could he do with the ball? And there's certainly that feeling with Richarlison. In terms of players that we've had before, I think we are seeing the best out of, or better out of, those players on a more regular basis. But one particular one is Abdoulaye Doucouré, who is a young French player who came last year, didn't really feature the first part of the season, ended up getting into the side, mainly due to injury, but starting to prove himself. But he has absolutely come on. And he really is thriving as one of our central midfielders alongside Tom Cleverley, who we brought back because he was with us to Watford, was it 2010? 2009, 2010 as a loanee when he was a Manchester United player. And he has just come back, and it's like he's never been away. And I think he's really sort of been able to lead a bit more and to be a much bigger cog in the Watford machine than he would have been in, say, the Everton machine, and certainly a bigger cog than he would have been in the Manchester United machine. Right. So the three of them in midfield, along with Nathaniel Chalobah, who we bought from Chelsea, who again had been with us before on loan in the first season of the Pozzos. He's injured at the moment; he's been out. But actually, those three of those midfielders, Cleverley, Chalobah, and Doucouré, were on fire. At the beginning of the year, they just literally clicked, and they were doing really, really well. So that's where we are, and I think those three sort of are the key. We also got Roberto Pereira, who we bought from Juventus, which is always a crazy thing that Watford are buying players from Juventus. And he was injured at most of last season. He turned up, played a bit, got injured, came back at the beginning of the season and started to shine. Actually, he came back the minute Chalobah got injured, so he almost slotted in. But he's got an injury a couple of weeks ago. He might be back for this weekend. But I think they're probably going to be a bit more cautious of him before rushing him back, let's say, before the international break.
You kind of gotten into, you mentioned Cleverley. I was going to get to that later. You've already gotten there. So people are really, really happy he's back. Is he playing more? He's playing more centrally now, right? Yeah,
he's split a little bit depending on where the team's playing.
Okay.
So we play a 4-2-3-1. So he's sort of mainly playing the middle of the three.
Okay.
But actually, the two and him, so the two what you call slightly further back midfielders and him are just a blur in the middle. There isn't that necessarily defined lines or positions, let's say. So he is sort of playing much more centrally, and he does seem to shine very, very well in that position. And I think that also gives him a little bit more. With playing with those other two younger players, it gives him a bit more, what's the word I want to say? Seniority, which I think sort of helps him, that gives you different status in a club. So when Pereira's in, he's, I suppose, technically a little bit further back. When Pereira isn't, he's a little bit further forward. But he's been known as the first man to celebrate. So if you look at any picture of Watford celebrating, he's always the first one, or at least behind every single player. So the only time he wasn't first to help celebrate was the one where he did score against Arsenal, and he was celebrating himself.
That's the strangest thing that people have noticed. That's awesome. That's great. I noticed, when he was with us, Martinez was playing more on the wing sometimes, but when he was playing centrally, he was playing more in a 2. at certain times, and I don't know. It seems like it makes sense that he would do well in a 3. You know.
Yeah, and I think it's the fact that, I mean, I don't know what, when you're playing 4 at the back, those 2 aren't as dependent on being defensive. And especially when, like I say, there's this blurriness of the 3 of them,
right.
That frees him up a little bit more, and I think gives him a multiple skilled role that he can sort of shine both in an attacking form as a playmaker, and also as a scrapper and a scrappy, midfielder.
Right. So, when you've had a good season, I mean, I suppose there have to be some people who are not performing up to expectations. So, has anybody's actually disappointed, or have there not really been many of those?
God, well, if you didn't see the disappointing foul that Britos did against Brighton, ninja kick that he did against Brighton, it was horrendous, and as a person, it let us down. Was slightly being let down this year by Holebas, who isn't getting as many yellow cards as he did last year. He was 1 yellow card away from being the all-time yellow card recipient at the end of last season. So there's that, and I suppose that a slight weakness at the moment is up front. We bought for £18 million, which is a lot of money for Watford. We bought Andre Gray from Burnley. He has scored. He's playing a different role that we didn't have in our squad last year. He is much more, running off the ball is much more effective, useful. We just had some big boys up front, previously, and then the biggest boy, the meanest boy of them all, Troy Deeney. He won't be playing on Saturday because he's now got his 3-match ban. I think he was just trying to squeeze a spot on Joe Allen's face, but no, apparently he was really being overly violent. So he's not playing. And again, Troy has been with us for years, gave us the greatest moment a football fan will ever have, and will never be beaten when we scored his goal, very, very last minute goal against Leicester City in the playoffs for the 5 years ago now. So he's never going to sort of beat that, and he has scored in the Premier League, but I think he's also struggled a little bit. And him trying to find what is Troy Deeney in the Premier League has been quite hard for him. Right. And he has shone. His performance he put in against Arsenal, where he came on late, he absolutely just, I don't want to say bullied, but he really did show his strength. And I don't know if you saw the quote about do Arsenal have kahunas or not. That's what he is, and that's what he plays, and that does feel where he will suit. So we do feel a bit light up front, but we know that actually we are getting goals and shots. Just they're not as dependent, let's say, on the strikers in different setups might have needed. Moving
on to this weekend, how do you see Watford lining up against us? Actually,
well, I think because of Troy being banned, we're going to start with Andre Gray up front. The question is, does Pereira start? I do say so. The wings will probably be Richarlison and Carrillo. The middle, I think, is, if I was Watford, I don't think I'd risk Pereira straight away unless he's made it really good. So Cleverley would probably be there with behind him Capoue, who was a really hot and cold last year.
Right.
He's playing for a new contract, I think. So there's him, and then Decore, and then I want to say Marco's favoured defence is Holebas on the left, Firmino on the right, and he can bomb down the wing and cause you much trouble and attack as well as defence. And then probably going to be Britos and Cabaselli, the young Belgian player who's really started to shine as well this season, and in goal, Gomez.
Yeah.
So I suspect it's not going to change formation, so it will be a 4-2-3-1. Will probably be the setup.
Yeah, watch Gomez play, and I'm thinking, maybe I can get back out there and play a little more, because he's ageless wonder. The guy just.
Yeah, and been through a lot of put downs, and he really he came down, and we had 2 years with him in the Championship, and he again that role where he's playing the big brother to a lot of those squads, and I think he's particularly important when it comes to Richarlison. Richarlison is a young Brazilian boy who's come over, and we've had many young players. So we've got another guy called Isaac Success who's come over from Nigeria via Granada, and he doesn't seem to have settled. And it can often be with some young strikers where they just look a little bit too juvenile. But Richarlison isn't. He's really growing, and having that, you must be like an older brother, almost a dad maybe, that he has in Gomez, as well as Marco being Portuguese speaker, he's from Portugal. That's been a big part of his settling in, and almost that freedom he has. I think he's third in strikes, shots on target in the Premier League, and I always think that's down to pure and utter just confidence in yourself. I think that's literally all he can do, is have pure confidence, and he just wants to strike the ball.
We haven't seen a lot of that at Goodison lately, for our guys in blue lately. Just that's one of the things we actually hear a lot when people send in fan thoughts and whatnot. Actually, the last one, all they put was, believe in yourself. It was literally the only thing they said, and I was thinking, the team is not really playing as though they have a lot of belief. So that can be a huge defining characteristic going into a match. I mean, really, that makes a lot of sense, John. So thinking about Everton, what Everton's probably going to put out there, probably going to do like a 4-3-3. Jagielka and Williams will probably be in the center. Gay and Davies and Baningimi will probably be the mids. And let's see here, probably Rooney, Calvert-Lewin, Morales, and I don't think Vlasic will be out there. Maybe even Aaron Lennon. That's probably the way we're going to. And Baines, of course, and Joe Kenny. So if that's what we're throwing out there, let's pretend like it's a 4-3-3. Who do you see your impact players being for Watford this weekend?
Well, it depends. If you're going against a team that you know isn't particularly confident, you're going to go and play your game rather than trying to play a game against them. And when we played Arsenal particularly, it definitely felt like we changed the formation just slightly to match them. I think we might go off on the front foot. I think we might sort of not necessarily go against, do anything particularly for your guys. And I just think generally the Watford team will do better against an Everton team, just because of that pure confidence and that sort of headspace that both of them are in. I wouldn't say necessarily it's down to individuals. I think the teams are probably going to be the most telling thing on Sunday.
See, I was thinking more about the fact that, we have some slower players that start for us right now. And I think about your team, you got some quick players. You just described a lot of players, and one of their main defining characteristics was speed. I think the only one you didn't really mention for is Tom Cleverley, who does have a brain on him. So, despite he plays quickly. He usually doesn't hold on to the ball very long. He plays a lot of 1- and 2-touch play. So I feel like Watford's going to play quickly against a team that may. So I'm curious as to whether Unsworth's going to play any quicker players to counter that, or if he's just going to go my best 11. So it's hard to say.
I mean, it depends where he gets to in terms of playing a game. We played Arsenal and we got the win out of that, and then we play against Stoke, who get an early goal, and they park the bus and make it an awful game of football to watch.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But when you're in a position which they were, where they needed to get wins, that's how you have to win certain games of football. Winning ugly is a part of football. And if Unsworth just needs the win, if he wants to keep the job, then that's the way he might set them up and might persuade the players that's the best way to go forward in the long run.
It's possible. It's very possible. I know the first half against Chelsea, it kind of looked like I don't think we had any legitimate offensive chances. But then the second half, we looked like a different team. It was strange with the same players. It was a strange tweak. It really was just an attitude. It's crazy. So back to this weekend. What's your prediction? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, I've got to go for convincing 3-0 to Watford.
Ouch.
Two goals by Andre Gray. I'm not going to go realistic. I'm not going to say anything about Everton. I'm just going to go. Basically, what I'd love to see is Charles needs another goal. He had an absolute, not a stinker against Chelsea, but he missed a lot of opportunities.
Yeah,
Didn't get one last week. He needs another goal. Andre Gray needs to get the goals going. So you don't want to score one, Andre. You need to score two, because two will really get him going for the rest of the season. So I'm going to go for at least three. And Gomez ain't going to let nothing in.
So you've heard it here first. John is predicting an absolute battering this weekend. It's probably the first time we've done an opposition view where the opposing fan just flat out says, "We are going to murder you guys."
I'm the optimist on the podcast. I'm not the pessimist. I'm the optimist. Maybe that's a bit too optimistic, but I'm going to stick with it.
That's funny. Like I'm usually an optimist as well, but I'm usually predicting like 1-0, and because of the state of way things are for us right now. So yeah. Anyway, all right, but thanks so much, John. It's awesome to talk to you.
Right.
Hopefully we'll get to talk again later on the season when we play again.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, good luck to you, and I'm gonna check out your website a little bit more now.
Okay, brilliant.
All right, take care, man.
Gerry. Cheers.
All right, bye-bye. Thanks. So that's it for Toffee Blue Opposition View. If you're liking the videos, subscribe. That'd be awesome. We'd appreciate it. Also, click the little thumbs up and comment, because we'd love to hear from you. Getting to know who everybody is and what they have to say. Anyway, but that's it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully Sunday goes well. Bye-bye.